So, diseases associated with tobacco. I think everybody knows how bad smoking is for our health. So your arteriosclerosis, your atherosclerosis, your cardiovascular disease, your peripheral arterial disease, your cerebrovascular disease, your lung health, lung cancer, and not just lung cancer, numerous other cancers, vulnerability to bronchial infections, chronic bronchitis and emphysema, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, where we get changes, narrowing, increased secretions, inflammation, and difficulty breathing, essentially, and poor respiratory function, which leads to poor health quite quickly. And both of those conditions are most associated, chronic bronchitis and emphysema, with smokers. Obviously, people who live in very polluted areas or worked in environments, for example, that have been recognized as being harmful to our respiratory system, but smoking is the most common cause of COPD. In very simple terms, the bronchial kind of irritations affect the large airways, and that tends to mean that the person with chronic bronchitis again struggles to breathe, and ends up being a little bit hypoxic, so they look they have pallor, a pale bluish tinge to their skin, and they're often coughing up secretions, etc. And emphysema is affecting the alveoli at the ends of the small bronchioles, and these lose their elasticity, and this is where the gaseous exchange takes place, and its functionality is dramatically reduced. And so these guys tend to overbreathe, so they tend to have a more pink or reddened kind of complexion. But both are not good. Quite often you get a combination of the two in a COPD kind of presentation relating to smoking. So we mentioned other forms of cancer, particularly those affecting the mouth and the nose, the throat, but others as well. It's been shown to have a heightened influence on gastrointestinal disorders, immune suppressions, skin conditions, mental and cognitive health, visual and auditory impairments, and essentially early mortality. I think also it's important to bear in mind that people who smoke are likely to also, or more likely to, have other lifestyle behaviours that are detrimental to their health. So they might also, be misusing alcohol, having a poor diet, not doing sufficient physical activity. This is just a fairly recent kind of area of investigation, and looking at the link between smoking and COVID and heightened mortality associated with that particular commonality of background. So then we just have a quick look at this tobacco body. So this is a highly graphic infographic. It's grotesque and shocking when you look at it, and it's got pretty good detail. It's not overcomplicated, but it contains a lot of information. Emphasizes some key points, but essentially the tobacco body visually depicts the various ways in which tobacco use harms almost every organ in the human body, and you should kind of have a look at the WHO tobacco body website. I've cut and pasted bits of this, emphasizes quite a lot of the key points that are important to understand about smoking and its detrimental effects on health. It kind of looks at things on all forms of tobacco and then the diseases more associated with smoking of tobacco. What it does highlight as well are the beneficial effects that can occur in the minutes, hours, weeks and months and years following giving up smoking. So that's quite an interesting set of information that could be of interest to the person that's trying to quit. I think it's quite important to appreciate all the unpleasant components of tobacco, and there's thousands of toxic chemicals in smoke. Look at some of these things. So butadiene is a chemical used to manufacture rubber, carcinogenic that can cause blood cancer. Arsenic, we know it's a famous poison. It's used to preserve wood, but it's certainly linked to cancer. Benzene is used as a chemical manufacturing processor, and that can cause cancer. Cadmium, that's what they use to make batteries. Chromium, to make alloys, paints and dyes. These are things that you wouldn't want to take into your body. Formaldehyde, that's a preservative, as much as used to process other chemicals and products. Cancer. Tar. Now tar, we all think of tar. Tar is almost like a thick, gloopy residue, and that's what ends up inside your lungs. And it also goes on your teeth and on your fingernails. Carbon monoxide is a gas. This decreases or starves the blood of oxygen. Put carbon monoxide in, there's less room for oxygen to be in there, and that goes inside your red blood cells, which then kind of through its chain of effects in the body increases the amount of cholesterol that's deposited, which causes atherosclerosis, and that then leads to a whole host of contributes to the cardiovascular issues. And then nicotine itself, which we hadn't mentioned at that point, is this highly addictive stimulant chemical, which has a very strong physiological reaction on the body. Increases in blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, vasoconstriction, adrenaline release, and this contributes to stiffening of the arteries, just as one of its harmful effects, arteriosclerosis. And also when we don't have nicotine that we're used to having, then we get significant side effects referred to as withdrawal.